Because my wife is my bestie. When we said bestie, from a meeting in 2004, we not stop par. Like, we've been apart. Like, you understand me? My wife go club with me. My wife help me get woman. Like, them kind of wives. My wife, at one point, my wife was my wingman. Like, before we reached them levels there. We're there on the road together. And to see a girl and they say, yo, you know, say, me like that, and she say, alright, no worry, say. And she would have busted something to the girl and then come back to me.
I'm more of the practical person in the scenario, where I'm like, you just need to get help. Let's just figure it out kind of scenario. But I think with men, there needs to be a level of empathy and understanding when things affect men versus when they affect girls. I think it's easier for us in a lot of ways as women. We get more comfort, we get more cuddling, people are more understanding of what we're going through. And then with boys, it's kind of rough. And it's like, what you cry for, you know, kind of thing. And there's a lack of empathy and love and caringness, so to speak, yeah, you know, towards boys. And then that continues until, into their adult years.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Faded Conversations. Today we're talking about good peer pressure and influencing good habits, the mental health side of that as well, and what we can do to change that narrative in society. So we invited two guests to come on board. They had a lot of great things to say about family, friends, and the influence that they both have on their lives. And we want to get you guys involved in the conversation as well. So tell us what you think in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and do all those wonderful things. Faded Conversations is back. Alright guys, so casual Sunday afternoon, sitting in the barber shop, having a drink, and we're just gonna have a general conversation. So, in starting this show a few years ago, we realized the propensity for people to influence good habits just based on who they are, the role they play in your life, how you perceive them, or things that you actually want to achieve. And a lot of people will say that success lives in your daily habits, how you shape the success of who you become has a lot to do with what you do daily, which is the accountability that you have. So I wanted to invite both of you to have a quick conversation on this, because I think it's a very important thing, because how we put out influence, not only just on social media, but in conversation with each other, has a lot to do with how we shape the nation and what success looks like. So, Garth, tell me a little bit about yourself. Ladies before gentlemen, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Oh, in 2022 we're still doing that?
Yeah, we're still doing a little interview thing. I saw whether we put it in it or keep it in it, no problem. But yes,
all right. I'm Tyhessia Williams. I go by Ty, everybody calls me Ty. I am the communications manager at Red Stripe, responsible for internal communications and digital marketing. I am a fun-loving person. True extrovert. I enjoy life. I love family and friends and fun and fashion and all the F's. And like you said, I agree with you wholly on, really kind of fostering good relationships and influence and being around people like-minded, but sometimes also different. I think it's important to have that dynamic. And some people are not always going to be on the same place at the same point in their journey. And it's good to have that kind of group and surrounding and support system that kind of pushes you, as you said, in terms of your habits of success and how you develop on that. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell, really just trying to live life to the fullest.
That was to get you talking, so good. I'm glad we have that part. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Wow, Garth is a married father of two who hails from Westmoreland. I'm the child of educators, so I love chat. And that led me into a career in communications. I have a close bond with Ty here because we both worked, I worked at Red Stripe, she's still there. And I love expressing myself, I'm very expressive. I too am an extrovert, but having grown up essentially as an only child, I'm not the only child, but I grew up in an only child environment. I can spend a lot of time by myself and I enjoy my own time, my own company, I'm good. However, my passion really is making people happy, is bringing a smile to people's faces, is bringing joy wherever I go. It's, I think I have a little bit of But everybody have a hero complex where where you want to make people life better. You want, you know somebody in a bad situation, where you want to help them out. I think I kind of take it next level with my kindness, sometimes to my own detriment. So I've learned to kind of curtail that. So
really
you know. Fair enough. But at the moment, I consult with the Ministry of Finance in Communications. I present on a local TV morning program, Smile Jamaica.
Say Smile Jamaica.
Okay, great.
We know Smile Jamaica.
I present Smile Jamaica. I also MC a lot of weddings and corporate events. I'm just an all-around people person. Cool. Yeah.
All right, I like that. So, essentially, what we're trying to do, and a big part of why we started this show originally, was to influence that good habit of people, of men talking about mental health and just talking about mental health in general. The driving force behind why I started to work with the Jamaica Health Advocacy Network was that I just don't feel like it was something that men spoke about, it wasn't cool to talk about. And depression is a very real thing. I won't tell anybody to self-diagnose, but a lot of people go through depression in their own way. They become somebody that they're not, and then the people around them tend not to want to speak on it, or men especially won't go to their friend and say, I see that you're depressed, like something is very wrong here. They kind of try and sweep it under the rug and hope they'll figure it out. But to be very honest, no, it's not something that anybody should go through by themselves. And that's one of the good habits that we're trying to influence on the show. So, is there any, what are your thoughts on mental health? Let me just ask you first.
I have very strong feelings around mental health. Hallelujah!
You sure it's zero? You sure it's zero?
Yeah, I have very strong feelings about it, and particularly I have a lot of men in my family, and I have a younger brother who suffers from a mental illness that has impacted our family tremendously, and it's something that we have to struggle with. He was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and at first, it's Jamaica, we're a relatively poor family. We don't know anything about these things.
It's never an illness for us. It's like,
why is he acting out? Why is he doing this? That kind of a thing. And I remember recognizing that something was different in how he was behaving. And I would say, I think we need to address this. There's something wrong. And it was kind of like, oh, he just has an attitude or whatever. And it was kind of pushed under the rug, and you don't really want to face it. And it's twofold. One, it's a lack of information, and also I think it's a fear. Because sometimes when you know something, you know have to do something about it, and you don't know what to do, so you're afraid to address it. So I think it's something that we don't talk enough about for shame or fear or whatever. It's not something that is readily addressed, but there's a huge importance in addressing it that we need to understand, and that importance of addressing it is bigger than whatever fear we have about it, because the impact of what this could have on a family and your friends and just people around you is huge, and people suffer in silence because of it, families suffer in silence. So I think it's just what you're doing is commendable in opening up that conversation and getting people to be more comfortable to talk about mental health.
That's good. You mentioned something very important, and like once you know about the problem, you have to do something about it. That's why some men just don't want to go to the doctor.
I did not realize how many men hate going to the doctor.
It's not a hate.
It's not a hate, man. It's not a hate.
It's not a hate.
Probably, if you want to try and describe it, no problem.
All right, so strictly on this point about going to the doctor, it's a fear. It's not a hate.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
You spoke to it just now, because sometimes you don't want to know that something's wrong, because knowing that something's wrong means you'll have to do something about it. And men, like most human beings, are comfortable in them comfort zone. You like life exactly where you like. If you hit a sweet spot, you're good.
Yeah, man.
And you don't really want to have to make a lifestyle change. Or go through something like maybe a surgery or
spend money and all those things.
And there's the money side of it too, especially if you're pinching pennies and you're really, you're not sure how the dollar's going to run.
Yeah, man. If you're just barely making it now, whatever you're going to find out is probably going to require you to,
Exactly. Yeah. And then remember, look at things where we're like, wait and see.
Yeah, I'm praying. Yeah, man, wait and see, and just pray that's going to work out.
We're just like, wait and see, and about, all right, I feel a pain in my left knee, but
is it swollen? Like, can I still walk?
We can still stretch out, we can still extend my leg.
Yeah, man, no problem.
We can still play ball later.
Yeah, man.
All right, let me see how it goes.
Yeah, man.
Your eyes sit little, and then it's gone, and you're like, oh, well, see there, see yourself.
Say $5 grand, I'm good to go.
Right.
And that is it now. Like, I tend to, I hear that so much that you'll be experiencing something and you just genuinely just, first of all, you kind of shrug it off.
Yeah.
Try to do all matcha thing and say, oh no, I'm a good man.
Right.
We make it work for a little while. And when you really realize that, it's a real thing now,
Yeah.
you hesitate to mention it to somebody else. And when you do mention it to somebody else, you are already preempting, go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Cool. You got to, long before you decide to go to the doctor, it have to get to a chronic point where you realize that, okay, it's either this or I'm probably going to die before you get to that point.
Yeah. It's a very extreme.
And it's going to exactly have to get extreme. And a lot of people, a lot of men, especially Jamaican men, use it as a last resort.
Right.
So we talk a lot about stuff like prostate cancer, cancer in general, if you want to be very broad about it. And that is just our perception. So influencing good habits is a broad topic, and that's why I jumped to talk about it, because changing the narrative is what this show should be about, and what we should be aiming to do as thought leaders in society. Because to be frank with you, a lot of problems could have been saved, a lot of mental health issues could have been averted, a lot of just how we deal with and communicate with people could have gone a completely different way, where we need to have a conversation about it. It was more socially acceptable to do that. So that's a big part of what we're going to get a little bit deeper into. But tell me how you feel about mental health.
Mental health, boy. It's good that they have a platform like this, and I see others over time. I wouldn't want to say springing up, but evolving, if you will, to make it more acceptable to discuss, evaluate, and even personalize matters of mental health.
Right.
We've long had this little phrase in Jamaica, mad or crazy.
True.
And immediately when you hear mental health, people start, but me not mad.
Yeah.
Take care of mental health. Me not mad.
Yeah, man.
Me not lose my mind.
Yeah, man.
But it's important that we get to that point where we are now, where it's becoming more socially acceptable.
Yeah,
if you
socially
will.
acceptable, self-aware, no matter how you want to put it.
Right.
It is just
So to deal
more
with these
reasonable to
things,
talk about.
if most men, let me just narrow it down a little. If most men were willing and able to take a look at their behaviors and the way they deal with particular things, they'd realize many times that there's something going on in your headspace we shouldn't have gone. So a man out there might realize, say, boy, sometime of the month, right? Particularly like when a crunch time. So you're supposed to get paid, right? If you're paid on a monthly salary or a regular basis like that, or even if it's just projects you're doing, right? But you realize that when it's crunch time, you're a little extra on edge, because yes, it's coming in, but it's also going out.
Yes.
Right.
And it's the fact that it's going out in terms of your salary or earnings that really you're like, yeah. And you just have very limited tolerance for, in some cases, your children, your partner, partners, or if you're single, you just look for your own life and say, yo, I want to do this, I want to do that, but
all of these things are there.
Or you decide to, on an impulse, you're going to do it, and then
deal with the consequences later.
Yeah.
At which point in time you're just delaying it.
Yeah, but when you take a real look at, if you really inspect your behavior around particular moments, whether moments of stress or moments of joy, and how you deal with other people, you know, realize that, oh, wow, you know, so maybe we need to check myself. Most of us don't do that.
Yeah.
And even if we notice it, we're not going to do anything about it. There's a loss in your life, whether a relative, a friend, loss of employment, which is akin to losing a relative or a close person.
Never thought about it like that,
Yeah,
but yes.
no, the level of trauma
No, man,
is
it's
like
true.
almost
That's
this,
true.
like it's almost the same thing. But how do you deal with those things? You know, do you not realize that you turn to, in some instances, abuse of substances? Yeah? How you deal with your brethren them? Do you find that you're more aggressive when you play dominoes, or if you play cards, or if you go to range, or whatever it is? You know, how do you deal with things like traffic?
Your road rage gets
The road
intensified
rage,
by X amount. Yeah,
notice these things. A lot of us, we tend to ignore those things. Until probably now, you might start to think about it a little more. So I think it's extremely important. I had my own mental health issue to confront, and that was around the death of my mom, which was in 2011. You know, I remember I got a job overseas sometime I think in 2010. I didn't want to take it because at that point Mom was battling cancer. And she said something very profound to me and it stuck with me. She said, I come, yeah, I come. I go, me, I go. So take the opportunity. I was like, wow, that's very selfless of her. Because she could have easily said, no, please,
these are my last days. I take care of you, come take care of me, type of thing.
You know, I had a young child. My daughter at the time was barely 1. You know, so it was very difficult, but it's a very good opportunity as well. I took it. I felt bad for it. Up to a point. Mommy helped me to kind of deal with it and get over it. When she passed, though, I watched her take her last breath. That had a terrible negative effect on me.
As much as I'm glad you were there with her in her last moments, I know that must be a very traumatic thing.
It was. And as a result of that, I stayed in the country. I'm from Westmoreland, but I live in Kingston. I was in Westmoreland for a better part of almost 7 months. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't do anything. The only thing I do is in the mornings I'd go to the river up the road, and in the evenings I'd go to the grill, go to the beach, and I'd just sit and drink and watch the ocean, watch the sea. You know, my friends realized that I had withdrawn. I wasn't answering calls.
You were a communicator and you're not communicating.
Exactly.
So,
I'm not posting online anywhere. And I remember about 5 carloads of people turned up at my house in June of 2012. And they're like, listen, we are not going back to Kingston without you. We are not. And everybody rallied around. I didn't want to look for a job. Thankfully, I had enough to see me through, so I didn't have to, I had no concerns where that was, you know, where that was. My wife, well, she wasn't my wife then. She was also very concerned. In fact, she had reached out to a couple of my friends and said, yo, I'm worried for him. Please, 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 please. But it was because of my friends who intervened and them come rescue me. Literally, they come rescue me. Because I don't think I'm a suicidal person. I don't think I would have gone that far. But
I let you know that it's a slippery slope.
It is, you know. So they came for me, and I can't forget that. And as a result of that, I've consistently checked on my friends, my girlfriends, my brethren. Them, I check on them all the while. And when I ask that question, how are you doing? How you do?
No man, how are you really? Some people will give you the courteous answer, how are you? I'm good. Oh no man, how are you really?
Oh no, me ask it really? No, me ask it different. When me ask, me I listen for your answer. Nobody can tell me, say, oh, I'm okay. I'm not taking okay. I am not taking okay because I want to hear what I'm going. You know? And it's something it might seem simple, but it's actually quite deep. You know?
Yeah, man,
it's actually quite deep.
It is.
And these are the little ways in which you can really check on others' mental health, but also to ask yourself the question, to look into the camera, pardon me, the mirror.
You're used to the camera, so that's fine.
But to really look at yourself and go, self, how am I? How am I doing? And to honestly respond. And then to be able to go, all right, this now looks 100, something need to do. How do I go about getting that done?
And sometimes that takes a lot of time.
Yes.
That takes a lot of time and courage and effort. Because sometimes you know something is wrong, you know what it is, but to get to the point of moving, it's like similar things like your weight or you need to change your diet. You know what you need to do, but the courage to do it sometimes is what holds people back. And I think sometimes people, we get into a worse state because we haven't moved on it and we know what we need to do. So then we start beating up ourselves because we haven't done that.
Agreed. And you touch on quite a few important stuff that we're going to probably get a little bit deeper into, but like you said, that will hold you accountable when it comes to certain things, because like I said, I had a similar scenario as where I had a very good friend, and I've been friends for over 20 years, and like a series of bad things just happened. He had a surgery that he didn't expect, and then COVID came and all sorts of things. So it was really one thing on top of another. And it got to a point where we didn't see or hear from him for a month, and a friend of mine me and a friend of mine just got in a car and just drove to Mumbai and showed up at his house, and we weren't really sure who we were going to see, because this is a guy that is always a barber, clean cut, trim, and in tailored and all of them things there. And his mother called me one day and said, he hasn't been to the barber in months. Like, he hasn't left the house for the last 6 months, so you're not really sure who you're going to see.
Right.
And I remember sitting there having a conversation with him on his couch at his house, and he was like, yo, I tried to go outside. I tried, and I got to my door and been like, no, it's fine, I'll do this tomorrow. And then tomorrow just never comes. And then before you know it, you kind of slip into this thing that is
becomes a lifestyle.
Yeah, but it becomes a lifestyle. You find more series to watch, and you just don't leave the house. And you'll realize that you're spending more and more time in bed, and you kind of start to cut off people or lose relationships that you work so hard to build.
Right.
And before you know it, like I said, it's a slippery slope. So when you say you don't see yourself as a suicidal person, you view yourself in a certain light, and it could never happen.
Right.
And I've seen a lot of people make a lot of decisions that they thought would never happen just because they got very much in their mind.
Yeah.
So, and I want to come back to your scenario a little bit, because that's it happening to him is one thing, but then you watch it. How close are you and your brother, by the way? In terms of age,
so we drifted over the years.
I mean, in terms of age first.
Oh, I'm 5 years older.
You're 5 years older, so you're the big sister.
I'm the big sister, and we drifted because of it. And one of the things was that he would have violent episodes, and I'm very extreme in my view around violence towards women. So I took a step back, because I was like, there is no way I'm allowing my brother to be violent with me. And so we drifted over the years. So we kept it civil, but there is not that. And I don't think either of us feel any pressure to have a closeness or fake a closeness, but when it comes down to it, if there are things that need to, like, I'm the person who is going to research which doctor we need to go to. I'm going to say, okay, you need to come, I'm going to come pick up, whatever, because he's also married with 3 kids. And so I'm more of the practical person in the scenario, where I'm like, you just need to get help. Let's just figure it out kind of scenario. But I think with men, there needs to be a level of empathy and understanding when things affect men versus when they affect girls. I think it's easier for us in a lot of ways as women. We get more comfort, we get more cuddling, people are more understanding of what we're going through. And then with boys, it's kind of rough. And it's like, what you cry for, kind of thing. And there's a lack of empathy and love and caringness, so to speak, towards boys. And then that continues until, into their adult years. And then you find that you're ending up dating this man, and you're looking at him, you're like, I'm so profound, I'm so, not affectionate. And praise the Lord, I've never had one of those. Thank you, Jesus. But you want that, and you find that some men are just resistant to being that way, and it's because from a very young age we don't foster that in our boys. We don't.
And there has to be a way to change that narrative at some point, because I mean, if we're looking at it as on a very basic level, men, like all human beings, we love at some point. Like we may not. We definitely don't get it from society the way that we probably would have envisioned it happening, but that's the reason why we find it so difficult to talk about is because talking about it is seen as a sign of weakness as well, at some level, and that, in my opinion, is completely wrong, because talking about it is actually a sign of strength. I know people that have gone through a lot, and they're talking about it or talking to somebody, whether it's a professional or anybody outside of them, is what brought them through it. Had they sat with it for any period longer, who is to say what would have happened? I mean, people have come on the show before, extremely respectable businessmen, people I've emulated from for over a decade, and sat there and told me that, I mean, the only reason that they made it out was because they sat and, like, a friend called at the right time, and they sat and had a drink with that friend at that time. Because if you can't find, as a father as well, you can't. It's hard to find that support or that what is the the thing that you need sometimes in your household because you're forced to be strong in that household. You have to be a Superman to your kids. You have to make sure that certain things are going right.
You need a space where you can be vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a space that you can be vulnerable in because your kids can't see daddy be like that. It's very difficult for you to be that emotional or vulnerable in front of your kids. So as much as it takes a lot of strength to be a father, it also has to take a lot of strength in order to step outside of that environment and find somebody to talk to about it. So influencing an environment where, regardless of what you do, it could be you're construction work and you use your masculinity every day, or you're a TV presenter. It doesn't necessarily matter what you do. Everybody goes through something. Right. Everybody goes through quite a bit, and then changing the narrative of you being able to talk to a friend about it. Like if you had to talk to a friend, who would you talk to about it?
Yeah. Well, fortunately for me, it might be public knowledge.
I might happen to know.
So I've got different friends for different reasons.
We all do.
Right? My circle of my brethren them, we're talking Dennis Brooks, we're talking Floyd Green, we're talking Marlon Camp, we're talking Kyle Chin, we're talking Otis Hamilton. Big up the whole honor. The sister in them, we're talking Ty. We're talking Stacey Smith. We're talking Shari Smith. I could call a number of names, but different friends for different reasons. I know I can call Ty and when.
Right.
Ty and Stacey in particular will call me out and check me on anything.
Yeah, man.
Same thing with my brethren them, but it's just different
It's
types.
just different, yeah, man.
There's different types of circumstances. But those men I mentioned just now, we've been friends for 20 odd years, right? We all rotate roles as best man or MC at each other wedding or witness for this or whatever it is,
There's never gonna be a time when you can't call on at least one of them for something, no matter what you need.
And all those names I named just now, if I'm in the ends of the earth and need a support, need somebody that can pick up my phone and call or send a message, and I know so they will call me back and say, yo, I want them to you. They say, yo, at this I go on in and them say, all right. Cool. If them can't come themselves, them going to find somebody. And it's not just necessarily in the case of a physical support, because if I need a listening ear, I can call. So I know that if my name come up in our caller ID at 3:30 in the morning, all right, it's emergency mode.
Yeah, man, serious.
I want them to you. You know what I mean? So it's important for everyone to have a circle like that, or even if it's not a full circle, but friends and connections like that. Very important. All those names I mentioned, all different personalities.
Yeah, man.
Despite the areas of commonality, they're all very different personalities. And each will check me and give me advice in different ways. Ty call a spade, straight up. If a foolishness, or some other F.
F's are really coming out.
It just depends on what it is. And they celebrate all my wins. They commiserated me for the L's, but all my wins are celebrated, no matter how minuscule.
Or small, yeah man, that's true.
And that's one of the important things, I think, that will probably come out in the conversation, but I'm going to say it now. It's one of the very important things that every man, woman too, but every man need in their life. Because there are moments you talk about just needing a space to be vulnerable. Sometimes I might brethren them me ball in front of. Right?
I agree.
There are days, two in particular, with Ty see me shed tears. Proper tears because, someone
heavy. Yeah, man.
You understand?
Yeah, man.
So it's very, very important. But here what's happening now, it doesn't happen by chance. It's something that I personally took charge of. And in each of their lives, I would say they took charge of it too. Because if you are born in town X or wherever, city X, and raised in the same space, and went to school in the same area, and you see all of the same people all of the time, and nothing changes. What it means is you really don't have a diverse perspective on pretty much anything. Yeah, sure, people have different opinions,
right?
But at the end of the day, it's pretty much the same type of lens you're looking through. I'm born in Westmoreland. Dennis born in a Spanish town. Floyd born in a Junction. Marlon is from Manchester, yeah. Right? Ty is from Spanish town. So, yeah, it's a nice little mix. We went to different schools. I went to a co-ed institution. Floyd did not. You know, Stacy went to she went to Immaculate.
All girls.
Ty went to a co-ed institution, right? You know, so we're all coming from different spaces. We're born at different points in time as well, more or less.
Yeah,
Yes,
right.
all
No, but
of
that's
for me.
Right. You know, but the important thing is ensuring that you have this plurality in your life in terms of the types of friends and connections that you have. And also, part of the thing too is it's kind of going back to even when you're in school. Which is why for me, it's important that you do as best as you can in school and do as best as you can in your professional endeavors.
Yes.
Because those are spaces which will expose you to different types of people with different opinions,
Yes.
different backgrounds, different levels of influence. People you can influence, people who will influence you. So at the University of the West Indies where I studied, it's a big cultural melting pot.
I hear that term so much. Yes.
It's true.
It is true.
If I'm traveling to anywhere across the Caribbean, inclusive of Guyana and Belize, all I've got to do, literally, is post something on Facebook to say, yo, I'm flying to this place. Immediately, my inbox goes, yo, when you come in, see a room here, you need a vehicle, see me car here, whatever it is, you know? And these are people who, when we see them, we pick up from where we left off and we can have conversation.
Yeah.
But if you would just in the same circle, same group, same everything, all your life, while there's a certain level of comfort so that you can be vulnerable, or maybe you can be vulnerable with them, sometimes you need some outside influence too.
Yeah.
A very, very important thing that I always try and I mean, like you said, the experience that you and pretty much from anywhere else, like once you've expanded that, your mind doesn't come back. And you start to appreciate, that's why I love travel. That's why you start to appreciate other perspectives. And I always tell people I love to travel, not because I'm a businessman and when you go other places, you see other creative ideas that you can expand on, but you appreciate other people's perspectives and their culture and how they look at things. And you realize that what you do here is not the end all and be all of what life is. Like I would tell people all the time, like when we'll go to a party in another country and we glorify some certain brands here, like okay, so this is what you need to buy as top shelf. People even sell that over there. Right. or it's dirt cheap and we have it very expensive because of how we've just been cultured to say, okay, cool, this is it, and we need to go down this road. And it reminds you that your perspective is not the only perspective.
Right.
Exactly.
And it reminds you that you still need to bring in other people into what you're doing sometimes, because it gives you that clearness of mind in what you're doing as well. Maybe it allows you to think further into the future, or maybe you do some insight into your past as well. So that's a very important thing. You touched on something that I want to go back to, and it's being selective with your friends. Like I think that's probably one thing that we have in common. I've had a very, very close group of friends for over 20 years now, and I'm blessed to say that, because a lot of people will, have friends for a few years and change friends completely, and sometimes nothing is wrong with that. If you realize that certain things don't align, no problem. It is up to you to move on and determine who you keep close to and the energy you keep close to and share that friend group. But when you've known people for that long, they know every version of you. You will change over time, but and people can come to you and say, oh boy, like you said, she called a spade a spade. You did something and whatever like that, that I don't think that was the right way to approach it. And when you know that your friendship is going to survive those things, it makes it easier to have the conversation. Because if it's somebody where you just know for a few months and then come to you, you're not really sure how you're going to take it. Me and people may apart for 20 years now and go cut off each other because they said, well, I never really like the way you deal with that.
Right.
You're not going to take those things personally. You know that this person came to you because clearly they care about you, and that is why you need to keep this person close. If anything, I value people more like that, because accountability is a big thing. I mean, cancel culture is also something else that social media has driven us to at some point in time you can live 19 years as a saint and do one thing wrong and you're like, nope, sorry, we're finished with that person.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to surround myself with people like that, and I personally don't think it's something that we should continue to perpetuate because people will make mistakes.
Yeah.
And I think you need to make mistakes in order to grow. It's just really about what you do after that point.
Yeah.
So the scenario that you found yourself in with, you know, the family and how you handle that, what would you say to other people that are dealing with a similar scenario and how to deal with it?
Wow, I am not in any position to tell anybody how this works, because it's unique to the family structure and also the amount of information you have at the time. I don't think, in hindsight, I don't think I handled it well. But I didn't even know what well was. I don't know what I was supposed to do.
If you could handle it differently, what would you do?
Yeah, but if I were to handle it differently, I think I would have given more support. I think I would have tried to understand more and maybe be more of a listening ear instead of feeling like I got on the defensive and I got on the defensive and I felt like it was more about protecting me and putting up a shield because I don't want this thing to impact me too much versus understanding that he probably was also scared because he's feeling things and, you know, experiencing things that he doesn't understand either. So I think if I was to do anything differently at all, that would be it, is to try to understand it a little bit more and probably have had more information and just spend more time trying to understand how he was being impacted. So it was less about me and more about the person.
The point that I want to also go on the back of what you said about understanding his perspective is on this show we don't condone anything that has to do with violence or violence, especially not violence against women. But the process of deterioration is never something that just happens.
Yeah.
So understanding what those triggers are and probably trying to just identify it a little bit earlier is something that I want to bring forth as well. So
it's a lot of work, you know, Stefan.
Yeah,
I mean, sometimes it's easy to talk about mental health or the lack thereof, and it's easy to say all these things, but it's when you're actually in the situation, because it also impacts your mental health as the other person.
True.
And there's not a lot that you can do, particularly in a Jamaican context in terms of policy and legislation and all of that. You may even call the police. Let's say there's a violent episode and you call the police and you're like, you know what, even if you don't understand and you just feel like you're being attacked, and you call the police to say, okay, this person is acting out. This person lives in the house. This is their home. The police are not taking them out.
That's right.
They're not taking them out. So it's a very complex, very, very difficult situation to be in. And it's one that you have to allow people to deal with it in their own way, providing information as much as possible, but understand that it will be very different for everybody and how it will manifest and how you will have to deal with it.
Very, very good point. You touched on another important one, which is that people tend to say, oh, this person is mad out. Or mad is the term that comes to mind when it comes to that. Or you need to go for something? No.
The term that we tend to use, we use it very, very loosely. This is somebody, you know, going through things that they're not at themselves. Like, they're not being mad, and that's something that really bothers me more and more. So it's really about that same sensitivity about, you know, what somebody could be going through. We all are a product of the decision that we make something that makes some very, you know, people who talk about it sometimes. But being a little bit more understanding for each other and who we are around it. So I was saying, how selective are you when it comes to the friends and the people you keep around? And you meet a lot of people, you know, how selective are you about that?
I'm extremely selective about the people that I keep around me, but I don't let them know. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, this is not a relationship.
Right. So probably at the moment people might see this and they go, oh! I've got to say, message. No, and anybody who wants to get upset or come at me because I'm selective about where I keep you and who I keep, turn that question to yourself. No one is absolutely open with everyone and goes, oh, all willy-nilly about who them let into them life. It cannot be. There's absolutely no way. It's unhealthy. It's unsafe.
It's actually both, yes.
Right? So, but I'm very selective. I am, thankfully, a very good judge of character. It's rare when I'm wrong about somebody. Very rare. Very rare. I've been wrong, but it's rare. So what I do is that I have tiers within my life around who fits into what tier. Some people, it's almost like a league system. Some people get promoted to the Premier League, other people get demoted into the Championship. You understand me? Some people end up playing non-league football, they're not in their area at all after a while. Yeah, because people are in your life for a reason and for a season. And some seasons last longer than others. And I, like I said, I'm a very good judge of character. And I'm very open with people. I will share with you. We're all, as humans, like onions, we're layered. Now, some people obviously look at the little outside part, and then there are other people who really get down into the nitty-gritty, right? And over time, based on your promotion or demotion, you'll be exposed to one layer or another or another. And I would hope that people also do the same thing with me, based on who you are and how I come off, and you can go, all right, now Muslim are now periphery, you know? So I recognize though that people really are different individuals, and as a result of that, I'm very, very, very choosy about who would get to the level, say, of a Ty versus who get to the level of like a Floyd Green or a Marlon Campbell or a Dennis or a Kyle, whichever, you know? And it's important because they all function differently, you know?
Three different roles, so it's not like you have one single person who's doing everything. I think
Right.
as adults, we have very dynamic lives, so there's not like a situation where you can talk to this person every day.
Right.
You will relay this information to everybody.
Right.
There's certain compartmentalization. that we
Exactly.
do.
A lot of people might hear me talking and realize I haven't mentioned my wife. Because my wife is my bestie. When we say bestie, from a meeting in 2004, we not stop par. Like, we've been apart. Like, you understand me? My wife will club with me. My wife help me get woman. Like, them kind of ways. Yeah, my wife, at one point, my wife was my wingman. Like, before we reached them levels there. We there on the road together. And I see a girl and I say, yo, you know, me like that. And she say, all right, don't worry yourself. And she would have busted something to the girl and then come back to me.
I've heard this story and it's not traumatizing. It's all right.
Those things do happen. I've seen those things.
Yeah, so my wife and my parent. But since we've started our family, since we've gotten married, there are certain elements that we've adjusted. Yeah, right? But I still one of my closest friends. I mean, obviously people talk at different levels. You know what I mean? So at night time, well, we're not exactly living together at the moment, not because of any marital problems, but we're making a transition in our lives, right? And still together, though. And it's a transition together. Right. But one time, like, we sit down and we lie down and we'll talk and we say, oh, babes, you know, so really and thing, and she said, boy, all right, you know, think about it this way, look on it that way, yeah. Sometimes she will say to me, say, yo, I feel safe if I call Dennis, I feel safe if I call Marlon, I feel safe if I call Ty, I feel safe if I call... She will say to me, say, boy, no, based on how the one is sound, touch base with that, yeah. You understand me? Right, and she's not coming to me like, yo, you have to tell me everything. You know what I mean? Unfortunately for my ear, she tells me everything. I love you. I love you, baby. I love you.
No, he's giving his disclaimer.
Right. But she will, I'm her sounding board, like always. You know? Her family dynamic is very different from mine. Even though our families are close enough. You know what I mean? But her family different from my family and how we operate. Especially like my people from Westmoreland. You know? But to get back to your point, because I'm such a diverse person, then I've got to also have a diverse set of friends and be very, very specific about who gets to what level. The other thing is, now that's, I mean, I've been in media for years, but now it's TV media. I am more of a public person now. My social media profiles have always been public. So my DMs are now flooded with strangers saying all sorts of things to me.
Opinions and
Right.
takes on things.
Now I'm out and like, people will just walk up to me and go, hey you! And we catch a vibe for some people, I catch a little energy off of them, but when I say, hold on, I now have to start questioning their intentions, you know? And one of the things I've started to do is that I've created essentially a slate of questions and scenarios that I will present to people who I meet new people. And when I hear how they respond, and I don't want to only hear, I watch body language, I watch breathing patterns. I mean, I'm trained to observe these things, right? So I watch these things and then I make my own evaluations, and over time, I make that decision. But it's absolutely important that we all are able to do that, to be very selective and be confident in your selection and be confident enough to defend your selection should they want you to defend it. You don't have to.
It's your preference, but
Right.
like I said, you're making it based on
Yeah.
what people observe. It's not just based on what you feel or what they feel should be happening.
Right, so I will say to you, say, yo, look here, this is why I no longer call you, or this is why I call you once a month or once a week, because your energy is such that it drains me. I used to be afraid. I was talking in the car this morning with a friend who had a challenge time, telling somebody no because she feel bad. Yeah, no, and I understand where she's coming from. But guess what happened? Sometimes it is very important, not sometimes, it is always important for us to know that you can say no.
What's a recent development, and when did you discover that you can say no?
After-
Garth is the mayor of everywhere he goes.
After it.
Tells everybody, does everything for everybody, and puts himself last. I don't know, it's not very
Recent. It is recent.
development.
It is recent.
Very recent development.
And it is very empowering, I'm sure.
It is. It is. It is.
There was a time when I would say to something, your no is not broken, because they can just give out a no to anybody at any given time. But I understand that sometimes it is healthy, like you need to say no to something at some point in time. And the culture and something important, I don't want to kind of ask shy about them. So if you are somebody, but as a matter of fact, so are you doing?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So in selecting that, you mentioned sometimes you're an extrovert and you will go, is that person matching that type of energy?
No, never have, never. No, I love that, yeah.
Good. So why would you have selected that person? What is it about that person that would have been like, okay, even though they're not
That's such a good question.
even though they're
I hate Garth Williams so much.
that's on tape now and we'll have that for you.
Alright, no, let me be very honest with you. Something, and I say it a lot of times, and it's a very simple thing for me. I like nice men.
Okay, nice.
I kind,
okay.
nice, soft. I'm very aggressive, I'm very rough, I'm very loud, I'm extroverted. I like somebody who is the opposite, but still can be extroverted when it's required. I don't like very rough treatment from men. And it's not something I find attractive. I'm not attracted to the bad boy persona.
Yeah.
No.
But he's decisive, isn't he?
Yes.
I think that's probably what she kind of skirting around. As much as she like them nice, skirting around. As much as she like them nice, she wants somebody who can still put his foot down and make a decision.
Yes.
Yeah.
I get it.
No, she's not.
Are you decisive?
No.
No, I'm not.
No.
I'm not.
But decisive.
But she wants to match. She don't want to just serve me for a top way, but she don't want to.
Feel free.
She just don't want to be leading somebody around. Like she just say, yo, all right, well, yes, and he's like, okay, yes, my son. Like, no.
I don't like unkind men. I don't like men who are just unnecessarily mean and aggressive towards you. I don't like that at all. Huh?
Does any woman like that? But then again, everybody has
I
their
mean, some people
type.
do want to do the same thing for a long period of time. But especially with relationships, I think I'm a little bit more relaxed in choosing friends, but I'm very deliberate with the relationship part of it. Friends, more so because I also view my friendships as relationships. So you have to make time for your friends, you have to do things, and then I'll go into a period where I'm like, oh, I haven't gone out to have dinner with my friend, or we haven't been to brunch in a while, and I feel like, okay, I know I need to fix this, or I haven't called in a while, because it's also a relationship, and for a lot of people, your romantic relationship fizzes away, or for some reason you break up and you still have your friends. So my friendships are important, and because I'm emotional in that if I choose to be your friend, I'm very much invested in everything that you do, and I take it personal, and if I had that with 12, 13 people, there's no way I could manage on a day-to-day basis. I keep a very small group of friends, and but I'm still a very open person, meet a lot of people. I think I'm similar to Garth in that way, where talk to everybody, but not everybody's my friend.
Here's why I asked that question. First asking you, so you're married for how long?
9 years.
So, as somebody that's also married, I will, when I talk about being selective about friends, what a lot of people don't really realize is that, tell them, when you got married, you invited the people that you were close to at that time. Right? How many of those people are still very close?
Every single last one.
Every last one.
Yep.
Yeah,
There were 70 people at our wedding in total, and I think I invited 40.
Well, you know the majority. So wow, that's crazy. But big up you. But I know a lot of people that would have, when you make the decision to get married, it has a lot to do with you're inviting people that you are close to at that point in your life.
Right.
And then when you get to 10 years, if you're approaching,
right.
you might realize when you look back at it, or you feel, I used to close with a lot of people that work at the it's always a very good sign.
Yep.
Some people will tell you that it has a lot to do with accountability to them. Like, so we're invested in this marriage. You weren't there, we got married too, we want a suit for this.
Right.
So if you break up in another 6 to 8 months after this, we need answers because
Right.
we were there. So I ask you because the relationship dynamic actually sometimes in the marriage versus the two of the partner in a relationship, there's a lot to do with who you shape and who you are as a person and the decisions that you make in your life as well. I realize that. And some people, in making that step to, go deeper with somebody, whether it's in a relationship with a friend or a relationship with a partner, you have a lot to consider about, where you are, where you want to be, where you want to become. So I'm glad to hear that you guys are very discerning about that. It's a process.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of people tend to be like, this person been there a long time now, so might as well be. A lot of people will say that it's not possible. I mean, people that have been together for a long time, I know that they can easily decide tomorrow in something that they will go over time. Tell them how you think, how do you approach the person that you, how do you approach marriage? This person is your friend. What was that shift in your mind?
I think the minute I met my wife, I knew that we were going to be friends for a long time. Primarily because, quick story, when I went to UA, I had 2 sets of friends. I lived on campus, so I had a campus circle, and there was a commuting student circle, and she was connected to both. And they were like, yo, God, you need to meet Donnet, you need to meet God. Now, we are 2 the same people, except that I'm outgoing and very extroverted. She is read a book and play probably a card game or have a little line with you. If she know you, she shut off your ears. I don't need to know you to talk, as you can probably tell by this thing. Right? But we saw eye to eye on so many things. So like immediately I was like, yo, I'm a part of this, right? And when I met her, she was not in a position to take me on in a relationship, especially as a man, because of where she was in her life. But that changed over time, But it's just the partying and everything. And then I said, yo, and then I saw her with her nieces and nephews. I'm like, ooh, she got that whole maternal thing going on. And she was looking at me at the same time like, no, but then you tell me what to do with Pitney and people and whatever, it's so affable. So in her mind, she's like, oh, all right, he's a keeper. And then as time progressed, she moved from wingman till she started edge out some of them girls,
First she was going to be get them and then
Yeah,
you know, them put on the
but she just start kick my foot. She just
Oh.
start everywhere. She just start kick my bare foot. You know what I'm saying? Oh, she moves up. You know what I mean? Then some magic happened between us, and we're like, yo, what we are doing? She say, yo, what you want? And I say, what we doing now?
No.
And we just say, yo, alright. We just go on to the thing, yeah?
Like, when we captured this in it, was very different.
Yes, same. And then we got around to the point where we had a miscarriage. We're like, whoa. But when we discovered that she was pregnant, I was like, yo, alright, but it's serious now. And I don't make up my mind from my youth. When any of my baby them born, they have to live under my roof. I don't depend on the thing where my youth I grew with the mother somewhere else. I don't know nobody where that happened to. You know what I mean? But we just say that's just my personal thing. I say, yo, my youth have to grow under my roof. And if your mother not there, he must grow under my roof. You understand? And we got to that point, had the miscarriage, we're like, wow, I think that probably the trauma kind of bonded us a little tighter. Then our daughter was born. A year, really. I think we were at that point where we didn't say family was on the cards, and we could afford it. I was earning very well. She's a teacher, so she's not in the money. It is what it is. Can't go around that. Can't go around it. She's not in the money.
That's a topic that we can
yeah, it's a different conversation altogether. Yeah. But like I said to her, yo, keep your salary, me take care of everything else. You know what I mean? So she could have just gone, build up her little thing and whatever. And then 4 years later, boops, a next baby born. I have zero pull-out game, I'm sorry. Hey, there's that one. You know, nice.
Let me just say no, that's not what I'm going to say. I was going to say my faith in it is not the same because I have two kids.
Right.
One was born when my wife was on the pill and the other was born when my wife was having an IUD. So my pull-out game works. I believe in it.
Right, but it was after a second child, I think about probably 5 months. Me to just carry the one. Yeah, about 6 months after the birth of our second child that we got married. But we always knew, we didn't just know say it's gonna happen, it was just a matter of when. You know? But I've always been pretty selective about how deep I get with women, pardon the pun, but like really the levels. And there were some who I realized that I think we're probably like 2 other women, and she knows about them, who I considered that I could have gotten married to, you know? But those 2 other women are still very good friends, still dear friends, you know? So like, we get along. They were invited to the wedding, one came, the other did not. She said she couldn't manage, and I could understand that. You know, it's kind of difficult to deal with some of those things. But
What's on you, righty?
Right when they want this idea.
No, and that's just because of the nature of the relationship that we had. You know what I mean? We realized that it never did work, but we never wanted to damage our friendship. And I think that's probably one of the things I've always tried to engender across the people who are let into my life like that, right? If we're going to go down a certain path, sexual, right? We still, one will say, we can't talk to you. We don't just step on this thing and be, oh, yo, you're hot, yeah, let me just do that something. No, because you know what, a son of man need crosses woman, you know. And a son of woman need crosses man, you know. Oh, yeah, you look good, all right, nice, yeah, we're doing that something. And then 2 tools, man of crosses, man of this, man of that, woman of good, whatever. Like, really, actually, even just like a little time more. To realize, say, yo, alright, or at least be honest up front and say, yo, here what one. You see how me like yo, at this moment. She said, we can't work with it, or thumbs down, we can't work with it, I'll just keep it moving. Or we're playing them little cat and mouse game something, and then
expectations are off and the anticipation, the assumptions, it does affect them.
yeah, exactly. But
All of these things contribute to deterioration
of your mental health. It does. It does, seriously. No, because, and even yeah, and that's just the thing, you know. Everything you do, I think people need to consciously recognize it. Everything you do has an impact on your mental health. The relationship you have with your barber impact your mental health. True.
I've learned that in my adult years.
Yeah.
The relationship
If you have a nail tech and
their barber.
no, but the relationship
Those are
with
some of the most long-standing and healthy relationships are with the
of course. Your barber, your bartender, like if you have a specific place where you go drink, if you drink, right? Or if, for example, you're a golfer, the relationship you have with the caddy. You understand what I'm saying? You go gym, the relationship you have with the trainer. There you go.
Like I started in business and you guys are sure, right? Yeah?
Right.
And to be honest, it's kind of a situation where a lot of women will be very critical of that. Say, oh, you know what? You know, so you can love this football team, no matter how much them lose or what they disappoint you for how much years.
Right.
And your barber apart how much years. And
You sound like a Liverpool fan like me.
you're right, I'm not calling the team, trying to say what about yeah, no, that like you said, you need to understand that. Well, like you said, passive relationships, they play a very
Massive.
I hope the bartender one is not so active. That one should remain passive as well. You should not go to the bar.
Yeah,
it's
not a solution to a problem.
Yeah.
But I guess from a comfort perspective, you see somebody walk up and they already know what you want. I guess there's that part of that.
Yeah, the truth is, just like the various types of friends and connections you'll have, everybody serves a different function.
Yeah.
So the things I will discuss with my barber or in a barber shop aren't necessarily the same things I will discuss or detail in a bar. You understand what I'm saying? You've got your barber for what, 14 years you said, right? My current barber, I don't even know what's this on camera. No, because my barber before, my current barber, the two of them don't get along. I see him shop.
Oh, wow.
Bro, you are a brave man.
You look at I am right?
Wow.
No, but Ty will tell you, from off here or even on here now, right? That when it comes to connecting with people, I say Terry Carell have a thing on our LinkedIn that says human ethernet. Zane? Like when she put those words, human ethernet, it spoke to me. And I tell you, no matter how lowly or how high up you are, I have friends and connections in all sorts of spaces. So, like I said, my current barber and my previous barber, they do not really get along like that. But when we go to the barber shop and I sit on the light chair, right, and my current barber is shaving me, I'm still having a conversation with my old barber. And we're all
I want the
talking.
backstory because how did you
Make a
break
transition.
up with one barber to get to the other barber?
It's not a matter of pure function. That's really what it
Like
was.
one day he was on leave?
No. So my previous barber, I had a different role, right? And my previous barber is a man who he wake up 10 o'clock in the morning and reach shop like 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, okay.
So I could have always call him like at 7:30, 8 o'clock. Yo, you up there? Yeah man, we're there. And I could have link him them time. You understand me? When I changed professional roles now, I have to start like a move a different kind of way. The other barber was usually there from 7:30 in the morning. So I could have always page him and say, yo, you know, so they're coming for a little shave or whatever. And then over time, it just happened. But then my previous barber, me and him linked differently. Like, we can page him on a weekend and say, yo, dog, where you there? And him say, yo, I guess I'm there now. I say, alright, I come page you. You see what I say? Link him, 6-pack of Guinness, a case of Guinness, whatever it is. You understand? And me and him beat like a whole night and enjoy ourselves. And you understand me? Yeah, responsibly. You understand me? We're not drinking off a case of Guinness. But we have that kind of, you understand, so me and him can flex. So my current barber, he don't really do road like that. He don't do road. He's not a road man like that. He have probably about 8 events when we go for the entire year. You understand me?
So you made a change because of...
So I made a change literally because of my job function. And when I need to, for example, if I'm going on air, I have to get to the studio from 5 a.m. Which means I have to trim from the night before, right? Or the day before. So I'm not able to hit the barber shop like 7:30 in the evening. I have to go early in the day. So I'm going to speak to him and say, yo, you know, I just go do what I gotta do.
Talk about them then, like said, this is the end of the.
No, you can't.
It wasn't really
You
like
can't do an official breakup. You
No,
can't do
it
a-
wasn't
you
really
can't
like
do
a
an official
conversation like that, but we all recognize what was happening.
That's the thing, like,
You know?
when you're breaking up with your partner, you can't do an official breakup. You do some
Yeah.
kind of, you know,
Yeah.
it's a delicate process.
Yeah, right. I remember the first day he entered the barbershop when I was sitting in the other one chair. And like him stand up. And he said, oh, Mama G, you say, you must be there and get a shave. And he said,
Clutch pearls.
don't worry yourself, I pick up myself. And set up into the space and thing, and when we don't get the shave and thing, he was outside on the corridor. I'm just gonna him same time, I said, well, different is you know, you're all going. You need a shave, me a page, and I get you. And he said, no man, don't worry yourself, man, everything good, man, everything jiggy same way. Them time I never know the two of them to really take key.
Oh, so anyone
Oh,
else
you
can
know
like each
that.
other?
I had
Oh,
no clue that there was a backstory. Maybe just go and talk a little. I'm just going to go vibes. I'm still say, oh, sometimes I come in the morning and you're not going to go shave me. I say, but I want to, man. And more time when I go there, like if he's there, we still left a thing with him. And I like somebody just come in and you understand me? Just left something with him. Whatever, you understand me? And it would be cool. But
and then I told you the only reasonable barber breakup situation that I've ever heard was, okay, you're not a morning man,
Yeah.
he's not a morning man, so we can work with it.
Yeah.
That's probably the only
Yeah,
reasonable
man.
one, because every other story I've heard, you know, about the streets you go, and next shop where they really do say that, but on vacation,
Right.
boy, you know, the line will be clean, and then boy, I don't know how it happened.
Yeah.
This is the most inconvenient part.
But sorry, the point I want to make 2 points. One, on this matter of the different people in your lives and how them impact your mental health, you have to watch your energy. You have to watch your energy. Because you have people who will drain your energy and you need to recognize that. You have people who will boost your energy and you have to recognize that as well. And it's important that you speak directly to them and let them know why you want to par with them more or why you want to par with them less. Have an honest conversation, but don't be disrespectful. The other thing I want to say is, it's a matter of say mental health and friendships and so on, is our music. As Bob Marley, who once said in the song, who the cap fits, let them, remember that song there? He said, only a friend know your secret, so only he can reveal it. And you have some whole heap of other song now, we talk about, not trust friend, and I don't, it's unhealthy. It's unhealthy. No man is an island, no man stands alone. You need friend in your life. But it's important for you to be selective, and it's important for you to not share everything all at once.
Okay, sharing the pieces allows you to gauge how they actually do it.
Exactly.
The trust is a difficult process. No matter who it is with the relationship.
You know, I don't find that. I find, for me, I trust people implicitly. Like, I trust you. You haven't done anything to me.
Yeah, do follow up first. Make them follow up and then you can mess it up.
Lose my trust. If I meet you, there's no reason for me to suspect that you're going to do anything I don't do. But as I said, I don't just overshare with people or let them in too deep. But implicitly, I trust people and don't expect you to do anything bad. But the point that Garth made around talking to people, because I know that now we have all of these phrases and who is toxic and your boundaries and all of these things that I have now. A lot of it also, we treat people like they're disposable.
Right.
And we don't have real conversations with people. We mask it in, oh, it's my boundary, I'm putting up my boundary. When you should be accountable and you should be mature enough to say, Garth, this happened between us and this is why I'm in this space I'm in. Or, you know, I realize something is off with you, I don't really know how to deal with it, so maybe we need to some time for you to work on whatever you're working on. We treat people poorly. It's like we use these phrases to, you're somebody's friend for 10 years and now they're going through a depressive episode. Maybe somebody died, maybe their marriage ended, something, and people really fall into a state of depression. That's when your friendship should really come, you should show up.
Yeah.
And we're saying, oh, you know, we can't bother call Garth because every day I'm sad or I'm a cry. And I'm like, okay, yes, I get it because we're people. But you should still find it in yourself to show up for Garth because that's what friendship is about.
Yep.
And everybody needs that at some point.
Yep. And you can't be everything to everybody, you know.
Yeah.
So sometimes, like even when somebody dies, you know, you lose a loved one, whatever it is. I was inconsolable when my dad died. He died suddenly. I was equally inconsolable when my mom died. It took her 7 years battling cancer. But some of the most important inputs in my life in both losses were the people who call and say, brother, I don't know what to say to you, but just know, say, I'm over here, so. You know? So you don't always have to call with these profound words and the long conversation. Sometimes I just say yo, I'm there, you know. Anything you want, just give me a shout, whatever it is. I don't know what to say right now, but we just want to make you know, say, you have my support. Sometimes people who are religious will say, oh, they'll pray for you and them kind of thing. But maybe if you're not religious, them praying for you not really matter. But they're coming from a place of care.
Right. They're show up in their own way, which is what is important. You know?
Right.
A lot of people don't know how to handle death and how to deal with other people. Like, there are thousands of people because not the same for
Everybody, right. Again, it's the same thing about mental health. It's just that just to know that you are there means the world to people.